Hey guys, Kevin here to bring you a brand new video today. For today, I'm going to be reviewing a season of American Horror Story, specifically American Horror Story Coven. Now, I have done reviews of all of the American Horror Story seasons that I've watched on my Instagram page, Guimond Reviews. It's Guimond Reviews, all one word. If you want to go check it out on Instagram for all the previous reviews that I've done. But there is a lot to unpack for this season specifically of American Horror Story Coven, where I wanted to give a spoiler review on here because I can't give spoilers on my Instagram page. I've vowed to not spoil the seasons on there. So on here, this is going to be a spoiler review. So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the season or don't want to be spoiled, then click away from the video. Otherwise, let's get into it. So, there's a lot that happens in this show that it's hard to say how you feel about it without, giving away parts of the show that happen. So, the biggest thing, well, there's a lot of big things. I don't know. We'll just get into random things here and there, but I guess one of the big things was that who would become the Supreme in the end, and I was somewhat disappointed by who ends up becoming the Supreme, because the Supreme was basically, as you might know, the person who would lead the Coven or the House of Witches, and she was the one who could do the seven wonders, like perform all the different seven powers that a witch has. Yeah. It ended up being Sarah Paulson, which is what I was expecting, and I wanted it to be something that I didn't expect. I wanted it to be one that was less predictable, like Zoe or Thaisa Farmiga. I wanted it to be her character, really badly, and it wasn't. I'm kind of sad about that, and just how it worked out, because Sarah Paulson's character, Cordelia, wasn't even, being tested to be the Supreme initially. She wasn't in the running for it for whatever reason. She just wasn't, in competition for it, Queenie, Missy Day, Zoe, and Madison Montgomery were. They were all in the running for becoming the Supreme, but they all, I guess, failed the test, more or less. I don't know if I can't remember if Zoe failed every test, but the way it worked out is Zoe died, and then Cordelia was able to bring her back, so she showed the power of resurgence, I guess, or just the power of bringing someone back to life, whatever you want to call it, and then she becomes the Supreme. Alright. I mean, I'm glad Zoe didn't die, but, fuck. I mean, I just think it would have been cool if the new woman, Zoe was the new girl in the Coven who had just, realized her powers recently, as the show was starting, and it would have been cool to be like, oh, well, she was the new Supreme the whole time, even though she was a new witch. That would have been, I would have liked that so much better than just Cordelia. I mean, it's fine, but it's just yeah. And then the next issue I have is with Angela Bassett's character, Marie Laveau. I didn't talk about her much on my review at all because there's just so many issues I have with her. It's hard not to say. It's hard to say anything about her without spoiling what happens, because she was basically she was a voodoo witch, which wanted to seek to kill witches in the Coven. She wanted to kill people living in the Coven. And then she nearly dies. Well, she's immortal. She's actually immortal, but she nearly gets shot, and her place gets raided by a witch hunter who is pretty cool, I will say, Hank. Um, anyways, yeah. After that happens, she goes to the Coven and just kind of like hangs with them. Like, what? Like you were just wanting to kill them, and you had hired Hank to kill your Coven, and now you're hanging out with these people. Like, what? And then like, later on, it's like, her character just kind of like disappears, because she had cut off Delphine's head, and then Queenie had restored her and wanted her to get redemption. And then after that, Delphine didn't really seem to want to redeem herself. So the only thing she sought out to do was to tell a different story of her and frame it like, oh, I didn't murder those people, because she had like murdered a bunch of people. So she wanted to frame it like, oh, I didn't murder those people, or oh, I didn't do bad there. And then also she wanted to kill Marie Laveau, even though she was immortal. And so she did, I guess. I mean, there's like a brief shot of her getting like her arm cut off, but they don't really show her die. So I was like, okay. And they also don't really show Delphine much after that either. It's kind of, that whole plot line just kind of like disappears or dissipates, and it becomes just about the Coven and who's the next Supreme. It felt like they kind of were trying to juggle a bunch of storylines, and this one with, Queenie and Delphine and racism and all those different themes, and Marie Laveau was interesting, and cool. I liked it, but the execution just wasn't there, especially when it came to the end, with what happens to them specifically. Um, yeah, um, yeah. That's what I wanted to say about that. And then, the other, oh yeah, there's a couple character exits that really bothered me. First is Nan, because she just dies and her character just disappears. Like they just like blatantly wrote her off the show. Like, um, she Lange's character was trying to get like eternal life. That was like a recurring storyline throughout the show, the season, was that she was trying to get eternal life, and by doing that, she said the guy, Papa, whoever it was, said that she didn't have a soul. So she tries to get a soul by killing Nan, which didn't work. It didn't work anyways. It said, we cannot take a soul that's not yours. Okay, so you just like willy-nilly killed a main character like that, and then you're just like, oh, it doesn't matter. And then they don't bring her back or anything like that. She just leaves. I'm like, okay, that's really stupid, but okay. And the other one was also Luke Ramsay, the neighbor of the Coven. Um, he kind of just dies. Like um, his mother couldn't live with the fact that he had exposed her for doing something she did in her past. I can't remember what it was, but she had done something wrong in her past, and like he exposed her for it while he was in a coma, and then she killed him. And usually a lot of the time, Misty Day, or perhaps even Cordelia, could bring people back to life. But her mom prevented that from happening because she burned her body into ashes. So the way it works is, if your body is still somewhat intact, you could get brought back to life, but if you're ashes, you're not gonna come back from that. So yeah, that's kind of what it's all about. Evan Peters' character was interesting in that regard because he was literally cut up into pieces, I guess, because of the accident he was in. And they brought him back by putting pieces of him together. And somehow he didn't have speech right away, which I'm kind of like confused about exactly like how that works or the legitimacy of it. Like, okay, so his head was detached from his body. So how exactly did he forget how to talk? Like, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it kind of matters, but it's that part of it is whatever. I mean, I still liked Evan Peters in this as Kyle. I thought his character arc was really interesting, and him and Thaisa Farmiga had an interesting storyline that I really liked. Um, you know, however, a character I really didn't like was Madison Montgomery because the whole show she was just like so bitchy and egotistical and like she was always on a high horse and really cocky and arrogant and annoying, and I despised her character throughout, and that was what made me um, dislike her character or dislike the show somewhat, just because of her character alone. Lange's character, Jessica Lange's character, I did like. Um, I guess not as badly. I didn't dislike her as badly as Madison Montgomery, but she was still annoying, and the show just tries to casually like make her character seem better and make you feel bad for her because she gets cancer and you're supposed to like feel bad for her and all the characters are supposed to feel bad for her and she's suddenly become like this nicer person when before she was just like commanding the whole coven and being a dictator and just being annoying, especially to Cordelia and mean to Cordelia. And yeah, yeah, that I don't like the angle that show tries to work with that, where oh now all of a sudden she's a cool character. Like no, no, and then it is kind of funny how she gets stuck with this guy for eternity. Um, I I guess they had like a deal. Their whole love story between her and the Axeman was also an interesting development to say. And I guess they have a deal where they spend eternity together. So yeah, that ends up working out that way because they're both dead. Um, that was interesting, and Spalding was also a weird part of it that I never mentioned. Played by Dennis O'Hare. Um, he was basically a character that didn't talk for a while, and then he finally got the ability to talk, and then just to find out that he saw Jessica Lange kill or Fiona kill Madison Montgomery. Um, yeah, and he's kind of like this person who watches the Coven. He's kind of watched things unfold, and he's vowed to protect Fiona and stuff. So yeah. And lastly, I would say that Misty Day's character was pretty cool. I liked her character, played by Lily Rabe. Her death was unfortunate, but I thought it was an interesting way to go out, actually, with how she's just like stuck and then she can't come back. I thought that was kind of cool, even though, of course, I wouldn't have wanted her to die, but because she was a cool character. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to go out when they were trying to do the Seven Wonders. And then Stevie Nicks was a frequent, popular character in this that Well, her music was used a lot, and she made an appearance in this, which feels weird to see Stevie Nicks acting, but I thought her inclusion on the show was fine. I don't really have an issue with her actual person being there. I didn't think it wasn't really like a hindrance to the show that much. Um, I would say, but yeah, overall I really like the show. I give it, I think it was 7.8 out of 10. Um, and yeah, I really like the opening. It has a lot of cool visuals, especially I love all the visuals used in it with like the witches, especially with like there's this one part where it like goes silent and like I think it's Cordelia who's like levitating with these witches in the background, these like three witches dressed in black. It's just really cool. And then also the closing credits theme is just it's like a vibe. I don't know. It's cool. It's a cool theme. But yeah, nonetheless, it's a solid season. One that I enjoyed decently, despite you know some issues I had with it that I mentioned here. But overall, it was a cool concept and fun to watch, despite some of the ways that things turn out. So yeah, that's gonna be my review here. For any additional thoughts that I may have missed, you can always check out my Instagram, Guimond Reviews. But I think I said everything I wanted to say on here. If there's anything I didn't mention, it might be mentioned on my Instagram page. But otherwise, I think I've said everything that I felt like I wanted to say for this season. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.